Welcome. This is AJ McGamer trying to help you get through the Legendary Chocobo Races. So let's get started. I use the green Chocobo for the Choco Jump ability. That comes in handy for the Cactar gates, as you'll see later. The Odin Straights is the first race. I'll jump in with tips as needed, but for now, just enjoy the gameplay. When you come into this left, be careful for the spinning barber poles. You can catch some air though to clear the second half. Squeeze by these ones, get some more air for a nice shortcut. Don't cut it too close or you can screw that corner up. Coming up to this corner, be sure not to drift off the edge. As you can see, I even bumped the wall a couple of times there. You can afford to make some mistakes and still recover. This is kind of an idea of an ideal landing for this jump. That's the Odin Straights done. the Alexander Siege, I keep the green Chocobo, but I do switch up the feet to the Saurian Greaves to slow down much less when you run on water. Make sure you fill up your Choco Jump as much as you can in this race as well. This jump coming up, you don't have to follow the track, you can go right over the fence. Don't cut too close to the outside or you won't be able to drift out of it. As you saw, I kind of struggled myself there. Again, you can screw up a little bit, it's pretty forgiving. For this section, you'll see that I like to just jump right up onto the middle and then off to the right side. You can go to the left and get a jump, but it puts you in a very awkward spot in this corner that you can't really drift out of. You can go to the left side there to get dash if you want it, or if you don't need Choco Jump. I just always like making sure I had full Choco Jump. Alexander Siege. Moving on to the Phoenix Trial. I keep the Saurion Greaves on. The other gear, I just like the Hyperion armor. Gives good stats. This race actually starts with a pretty big jump shortcut right here. You can get some choco jump, some speed, land on the inside of that corner. Just like that. Careful around the barber poles. Another big shortcut, you can just go right through the dash and past both of those corners. Again, as you can see, you don't need to be 100% perfect. You can bang into stuff and lose some speed, as long as you can recover when it's necessary.
barber poles can really slow you down, so as you saw there, I chose to hit the wall and get the speed back from a boost pad that I saw was right behind it. That is the Phoenix trial completed.
decided to finish off some of the more minor races after this before heading on to the Bahamut Skirmish. So enjoy these ones. I'll be back for some tips for the Bahamut Skirmish when it comes up. Alright, the Bahamut Skirmish. As you can see, I kept the Hyperion gear on. You could probably put the Saurian boots or greaves back on if you wanted to. Coming up, there is a branching path to the left if you're brave enough to try and dodge that barber pole. I never was. But there's a bunch of barber poles up here that you just need to hope kind of cooperate for you. There are boost pads to get you up in the air there for different balloons. I find they slow you down more than help you, so I just run through the area. I always take the inside of that barber pole and it seems pretty consistent. This shortcut is pretty essential to winning the race. So that shortcut comes at the end of that long path of backwards and forwards speed paths. You'll go down a ramp, hang to the right. Again, as you can see, you don't need to be perfect. Even at the end there, I banged into some stuff, but was still able to hold on to first place. So I hope this video helped you out if you're struggling with the Chocobo Races, and good luck on whatever battlefield you find yourself on.